Well, welcome to LumenFire and FileMaker 101. So today we're going to have an overview of what FileMaker is, answer the question of where does it fit in the technology landscape, and then we're going to build a custom app to track your Lego collection. So that's the fun part. And then we'll answer any questions that you have about it. I'm Tim Cimbura. I'm the CEO and software engineer at LumenFire. I've been consulting since I was 16 years old, built my first database for my high school lunch program. And then I went to school for electrical engineering, minored in theater arts. I cut my teeth in the IT area at Target Corporation and at American Express for many years before founding Cimbura.com, which became LumenFire recently. So FileMaker helps to solve these problems. Often in business we have paper and files and application islands and spreadsheets, which leads to scattered information, ad hoc processes, and rigid technology that doesn't fit together. So FileMaker can build custom solutions that solve a lot of those problems, eliminating unproductivity, making it faster to find documents, and eliminating data loss in a lot of cases. So FileMaker is the #1 rapid application development software in the world according to G2 Crowd, and that's a great place for it to be. It's really, FileMaker is not just one product, it's a platform of several products. And so we've got FileMaker Go, which is a client that allows you to build, allows you to run solutions on the iPad or the iPhone, iOS devices. You've got FileMaker Pro, which is the client that runs on Mac or Windows, and then FileMaker Pro Advanced, which is the developer version of that. It has a few more utilities that are helpful for development. FileMaker WebDirect is a way to deploy FileMaker solutions quickly to the web. Then you've got FileMaker Cloud, which is a cloud-based FileMaker server, and FileMaker Server, which is where you generally are installing applications that are accessed by FileMaker Go, FileMaker Pro, or WebDirect. So that's kind of an overview of what the platform is, and it goes across iPad, iPhone, Windows, Mac, and web. So overall, FileMaker, the company, is an Apple subsidiary, the most successful company in the world. And for over 30 years, FileMaker has been helping companies to transform their business. It's been consistently profitable, so it's a company that's been around for a long time and is in good financial state. And over 24 million copies of FileMaker have been delivered in over 15 languages, and many of those overseas, not just in the US, to organizations of all sizes. So why would you want to use FileMaker? I think the main advantages are that it allows you to rapidly create custom applications for competitive advantage and reasonable cost. You can build it with a personal attention, often a single developer or a small team of developers are going to build a solution for you, or you can do it yourself. You own your data. You can do anything with it. It's cross-platform and scalable, and you can integrate it with nearly any other system. So it fits really in between. On the left-hand side of this chart, you have apps that are available, like SaaS tools, software as a service, QuickBooks, Act. These things are no code because you're really not writing anything. They're just off the shelf. And then on the right-hand side, you have traditional programming languages like C++, JavaScript, PHP, which require more code. And then FileMaker's in the middle because it has a low code amount. When you're not integrating it with things just by itself, it's mainly like a macro or scripting language that is the code in FileMaker. So we're going to start just by building the simplest FileMaker solution you can do, and that's with one of the starter solutions that comes with FileMaker. So if you have FileMaker on your laptop, go ahead and click on the purple icon and have it open. Most of you have FileMaker Advanced, so go ahead and I'll do the same thing here. I've created an icon on my desktop. When you open it, it's already open, so I'm seeing the FileMaker Pro Advanced menu bar here. And I'm just going to choose File and Get Started. So everyone to that screen. And so this is a screen that shows you that you can choose with various starter solutions. There's 3 or 4 of them here that they've kind of featured. And then at the bottom, if you scroll all the way down to Explore the Possibilities, you can click on See Advanced Solutions. And that brings up that menu there with several other solutions that are pre-built and come along with FileMaker. So I'm just going to click on the Invoices one and click on Choose. And then you give it a name. You can call it Invoices or Invoices with your name and save it on your hard drive someplace. You can save it on the desktop if you like. So click Save. And you see the icon over there. And you've created your first FileMaker database. We lost the screen. Is that my fault? Or oh, there we go. So did everyone get that far? Creating an invoice application. So you can see that this is a pre-built solution. It has invoices, customers, and products. And then you can use the FileMaker toolbar at the top here to add additional items to it. For example, new record would, when you're in the products area, would create a new product. If you're in customers, you create new record and you get a new contact, and you can enter in the name of the contact, first name, last name, and all the other kind of information you would want. You can click on New Invoice, and it will create an invoice for that customer. And then you can add line items to your invoice. It's pretty straightforward, but that's a usable tool that you can immediately get started and start immediately with FileMaker being useful. So that's about all I'm going to go through on that, and move on to beyond the starter solutions. And it's trivia time. So what company is the largest tire manufacturer in the world? Any ideas? Some of you already know this. Well, the answer is Lego. They actually have the Guinness World Record for the largest tire manufacturer per annum, 318 million per year, and they started making tires in 1962, which is twice as many tires as Bridgestone on a yearly basis. So here's some quick facts about Lego. It's a combination of 2 Danish words, leg and goat, which means play well. And there are a lot of Lego bricks in the world, 52 for every person in the world. They've been manufactured since 1949, and kids and adults spend more than 5 billion hours a year playing with Lego bricks. That's a lot of productivity. When you enjoy playing with bricks and you're an adult, you're called an AFOL, adult fan of Legos. Fortune magazine said that Lego was the toy of the century in 2000, and now it's not just a toy, but there are theme parks and video games and movies, and so it's an entire industry. And even here in Minnesota, we have one of the Lego stores at the Mall of America. So it's kind of a fun thing to say, let's make a custom app that's going to help us with our Lego collection. So this is what the app is going to look like when you're done with it. You're going to actually build this along as we go step by step. And so this is a kind of a detailed view of some of the things we're tracking, and then we'll have a list view showing the sets that we have along with the ratings. So that's what we're working towards, and it's going to have a number of really useful features. Besides tracking your sets, which are made up of parts, it's going to also look up instructions for you if you lost your instructions, show you photos and other info, and then it will run across Mac or Windows or iPad, and even you could put it on the web as well. It scales from one user. You have it on your desktop, and you could share it out with a friend. And you can customize it and change it however you want. So it's all yours. Marty said, currently I tend to keep track of Legos by stepping on them. This will be a game changer for me, so look out. So these are the building blocks that we're going to use to build. Layouts, which are screens or reports that you print. Buttons are clickable objects that perform a task. Tables, which is a collection of fields. They're called entities in database terminology. And fields, which are text, numbers, dates, or containers. And then scripts. And scripts automate repetitive processes. So with all these building blocks, we'll be able to build a simple custom app. So first things is that I want you to go to this website or this URL. Just type that in a web browser in Google or Safari or Firefox, whatever you choose, and download this file, because this is going to give us some starting point solution things that will be very helpful. So I'm going to do this myself. So I'm copying and pasting it. Everyone have that URL? Paste it in there. It downloads. For some of you, it might download into your downloads folder. Others, it might show up on your desktop. Should take only a few seconds. And then, yep, it's lumenfire.com/tech_files/downloads/LEGO-app-build.zip. So this is what it'll show up like on your desktop. Is everyone there? Raise your hands. Okay. You double click on that and it will unzip it. It's a compressed file. You can throw the file away and you'll get a folder that looks like that. I have two of them on my desktop. So it's got some things that are going to help us build this solution. It also has a copy of the final database. If you get lost along the way and want to just move forward with the nicely completed solution, you can do that. That's cheating. Okay. So let's move on. These are the things that we're going to track in the database. Lego sets that have a set ID, set number, a name, description, a number of things that we want to track about a set, and then also Lego parts. And parts are what make up a set. So they'll have a set ID, color, part, quantity, and the part ID. So it's a fairly simple data structure. So now we're going to create this application from scratch. So open up FileMaker. So either go on the bar or double click on the icon for it. And then choose File, New Solution. And here you can go and call this Lego Sets with your name on it, possibly. And then click on Save. We're losing our screen again. Is this what was happening last night? Okay. So this will open up automatically to the managed database. So we can, at this point, start creating some fields that will contain the information we want to track about Legos. So the first field we're going to choose to create is called set ID. So type in, don't turn it off. Type in set ID in the field name. And then we're going to leave that as a number, or we're going to choose that as a type of number. You see it where you can, yes? They are, but we prefer as programmers to leave the spaces out. So usually we just do set ID with no spaces. And then click on OK. Or click on create. And then we're going to, because this is our set ID, we're going to create this as a serial number. So click on options for the set ID and click on serial number. And then under validation, the subtab on validation, choose not empty and unique value. So that's going to create a unique serial number for each of our sets. And then click on OK. Are we there? So, okay, so we're going to move on and create several more fields. Create a field called name, and that will be of type text. And then click on create. Choose description. Click on create. Type in theme and create. Subtheme, create. And then piece count. And make that a number. Click on create. Am I going too fast? Well, it'd be nice if you could see what I was going. Yeah, name. We're creating 4 text fields: name, description, theme, and subtheme. There you go. It's just warming up. So are we there? Then I'm creating one called rating, and we're going to have that be a number. And then photo, I'm going to make that a container field. A container field in FileMaker has an image or a PDF file. Great. The date purchased, and make that a date field. Make the cost field, which will be a number, and the cost today. Great. Now here's the one that's maybe a little confusing, but Amazon ASIN. I'll explain this one later. That's a text field. Click on create, and then notes. Create as a text field. So those are all the fields that we're going to create. And then click over to tables and rename this table that says Lego Sets Tim, or whatever the name of your file was. Just name it as sets and click on change. So we now have a table that contains all these fields or information that we're going to track, and it's called sets. If you click over to relationships, you'll see a listing visually of this table and the sets that are below it, or the items that are in it. And then click on OK. And really, technically, you've created your first custom database, because this database is useful now. You could type in the name of a Lego set. You could type in, this is my city firefighter, a description of it. You could type in a theme. You could type in the number of pieces that are in it, give it a rating. But this isn't really very pretty, or it could be a lot more useful. So we're going to move forward and make this designed for an iPad as well. There's a theme. If you choose View Layout Mode, everything that is here that you see, you can change. It's like I could select these items and move them around on the screen. And it's using a theme called Enlightened, which gives it the look and feel. We're going to create a new layout specifically for the iPad screen that has slightly larger text fields for your finger and buttons as well. So go to the Layout menu, if you're in Layout mode, and choose New Layout or Report. And we're going to call this Set Detail. Are you there? So do New Layout. Are you on the screen? I'm going too fast. Okay. So you do View Layout, then go to Layouts and choose New Layout or Report, and you'll get this screen. So call it Set Detail, and we're going to create a layout that is for a touch device. So choose iPad from there, and we're going to make a form. We're there? And then click on Finish. And you'll get a blank screen. And we're going to use something in FileMaker called the field picker. It's not the nose picker, it's the field picker. And you can see here in the field picker, it lists all those fields that we created. So if you can select, we're going to select multiple fields. So to do that, you click on Set ID at the top here, and then hold down the Shift key and click on the Notes field on the bottom. That'll select all of those fields that are there. And then drag that from there over into the layout area. And you can see how these are a little bit larger than the fields in the original one, which was, this is more designed for a workstation, and this is designed for an iPad. So at this point, you have the workings for the layout, and you can move things around and make them more pleasant. For example, you might take the photo and drag that over to the right. We could move the cost and the date purchased over in the middle here, and maybe move the ASIN and the notes area up. And you can make some of these larger as well. So like I could make the notes area larger, can make the name larger and the description. can really just play around with this. I'm going to move the rating up a little bit too. So now if you have, I'm going to close this. Over on, we have some things in that folder, the build assets folder that I gave you. You can drag over the Lego logo, and you can resize that and put that up into the header. You can drag over the Lego brick. Resize that and put it over on the right. And then you can also click on the text tool up here and type in a name for your solution. So you could say Tim's Lego sets. And then using the tools, you can also change the size of that font. Over here, there's a little bar that you can click on that, and it turns on the size. So like I could make it a different color, make it a little bit larger, make it bold. So once this looks like your, oh, there's one other item I forgot to put in there. Okay, so are you caught up with this yet? Way behind. I'm going to go ahead and go to File, Manage, Database, and Fields, and add in, there's a set number. And this set number is something that comes, every set from Lego has a set number. I forgot to put that in. The set ID is our internal ID, what we're going to serial number for it. And so I want the set number on there as well. So I'm going to drag that over. So as you've arranged things and moved them around, I'm going to we choose View and Browse mode, and now your database looks like that. I call it a database because FileMaker is really a database tool, but it's building a custom app that happens to be built on a database in the back end. So now one of the things that might be nice is if we had some pull-down menus or value lists for the theme and the sub-theme, because those are things that we want to be consistent across our sets. So we can do that by doing File, Manage, Value Lists. And we're going to create a custom value list for the themes and the sub-themes. So I click on New and say Themes. And I have these typed out in a file here in your assets folder. So you can copy and paste the themes into there, click on OK, and then also create sub-themes. So we've got two value lists now. But they're not connected to these fields. So we choose View and Layout mode. I can click on this theme. And then in the inspector over here, the inspector will let me change things about that field. So I'm going to make that into a drop-down list under control style, choose drop-down list, and make it values from the themes. And I'm going to do the same kind of thing with sub-themes. So I'm going to make that a drop-down list and choose the sub-themes. Then you go to view and go back into browse mode. And you'll see that now when I select that, I can choose any of these. Makes it a little bit easier. The other thing that we might want to do is make this rating field more useful. So I'm just thinking it could have a rating from 1 to 5. So you could just type in a number in there, or we could make a value list for that as well. But it's not as pretty as it could be, and not as useful as what we might have in some other situations, like in iTunes you get the stars that go across the right for your favorite songs, that kind of thing. So as a developer, one of your best friends might be Google. Because you can go and find out if somebody else has done this before, and you can work off of their work. And in this case, I didn't find anyone had done this before or in a way that was really well, so I went ahead and created a blog article and a sample file that lets you do this. So done that work for you. So if you were looking in Google for this, FileMaker star rating, something, you run across this article, and then you could download a free example file. And so that free example file is also in the assets folder. So that's a separate little file, a FileMaker database that you can click on these stars, and you see as if I click on the right star, it changes the field to 5. It changes the rating to 5. If I click here, it changes to 1. If I click on this again, it just wipes it out. So kind of does all the work for you, typing the number automatically. Conversely, if you were to click on one of these buttons, it shows up the stars that way. So this is designed so that you can go into layout mode and just copy this control here and go back to your database, go into layout mode, and paste it. And it looks like not. Doesn't look like it copied and pasted right. So never mind. Are you guys getting that same thing when you paste it over? Oh, okay. There we go. I copied and pasted it there. A second time. The second time's a charm. So when I click on this, you see it's setting this ratings field for me. So if you want to, you could go ahead and just remove the rating field number and leave only the one that has the stars on it. Now we're going to get a little bit more advanced. We lost our screen again. We're going to connect this to the web, and this is where it can get really, really very useful. And a little bit more complex. We have the web developers are very familiar with what a URL is. It's called a Uniform Resource Locator. It's a web address. It's a unique address that points out something that's on the internet. And I know from working with Amazon that they have photos of every single Lego box out there. And this is the format of how those images look. Basically, you've got you've got just in here what's called the ASIN, or the Amazon serial ID number. And so if you just substitute the right ASIN in there, you'll come back with a photo from Amazon's website. So what we can do is let's go out to Amazon in a web browser. Oops. So let's say your favorites. Well, look, it already has some Lego sets here. And when I click on this Lego set, you see in the URL up here, this number here is the ASIN. That's a unique identifier that Amazon uses for this particular product. And then over here, you've got 60060. That's Lego's number for that product. So if I wanted to keep track of this particular item in our database, I can copy and paste from here the set number into this field. I can copy and paste the name of this. And I can also grab the ASIN number up here and put that into the Amazon ASIN. So I have a little bit of information there. I could also copy and paste the photo or something, but we're going to make that happen automatically. So we're going to go to Manage Database again, and we're going to create a calculated field that's automatically going to find that URL to the photo. So I have that information in the Lego miscellaneous info file that I gave you. Because it's just a little bit easier than typing it. So I'm going to copy this information here. I'm going to create a new field called Amazon ASIN _C. And that means we're just using that to tell us it's a calculated field easily when we look at the list. It's kind of a standard FileMaker convention to do that. And I'm making a calculation field. I click on Create and paste that information in here. So what this is really doing is it's saying if the Amazon ASIN field is not blank, then it's going to go ahead and calculate this ASIN using that information. And this needs to be a text calculation. And I click on OK. That's a little bit more of an advanced feature, but let me show you behind the scene. You don't need to do this, but what it's doing. I'm going to display that calculated field we created. And you see if there's something in here, if there's not anything in there, it's blank. If I paste something in, it calculates that. And if you were to take this image URL and go out to a web browser, you come up with the photo right off of Amazon's site. So we can get really tricky here and use something that's in FileMaker called a web viewer to do that work for us. So go into View Layout mode. This is getting kind of advanced already, but it's a really enables a lot of powerful features in FileMaker. I'm going to grab this web viewer information from that sample file. And then up on the top, you've got, this is the tool for creating a web viewer. And I'm going to drag out a web viewer onto the layout and then paste in this text. Basically what this is doing is it's taking that Amazon URL information that we just calculated and throwing it into this web viewer as if it's a web page. And I click on OK. I think I need to specify, I didn't use exactly the same field name here. I used Amazon ASIN. So I'm going to replace that in those two places. That's the actual calculated field we just created. Click on OK. And now if I go back into browse mode, you'll see that it looked up, that's the image right there. It looked it up and is showing it to me. So I can just drag that over. I can copy it, copy that image and paste it in here. So that's a way for us to automatically look up the photo. So we can kind of auto-populate this information without having to take a photo of it and paste it in there on our own. Now, we're going to make another couple of other connections to the web. There are some sites out there one's called Brickset. There's the Lego site itself, and then there's Amazon like we looked at. And if we're looking at like the Brickset site, when I go out there and I do a search for a particular set, it can give me information. It can give me information like what is the instruction set for it, and you can download it as a PDF, that kind of thing. And this is, you can see in the search bar up here the format of the URL for that. It's query, and then this is the set number. So we can recreate that in FileMaker so that it just does that automatically. We can recreate also a search for that set number on Amazon's or on Lego's site and get additional information. We can also search for a set directly on Amazon using also the name or the number in a format so that you can click on that button very quickly and it just goes out and finds information on the web. So I'll show you how that works. So, and this is where we get into the scripting language of FileMaker. And the scripting language in FileMaker is really like a macro language. It's basically a list of various commands that in some cases mimic things that you can do on the screen, like from the menus. So to get to the scripting language in FileMaker, you choose Script Workplace. And there are no scripts in this solution yet, but if I click on the plus sign, I get this area where I can start creating a new script. And I'm going to say, I'll call this Get Lego Information. And then we can start typing some, we're going to use only one command in here, and the command is open URL. It's going to, so like if I type in open, you can see the commands show up that all start with open, and we're going to use open URL. And in this case, we don't want a dialog, so I turn the dialog off and then click on this little button, and you can type in or specify what that URL is. And so we've got 3 URLs that we're going to put in here. One of them is the one for Amazon, one of them is the one for the Lego site, and one of them is for the Brickset site. So they are calculated, or their calculations. This is the most complex one, the Amazon one, because it's actually substituting the set name in there. You can't have spaces in a URL, so it's just substituting anywhere where there's a space with a plus sign, because that's how Amazon wants it. So that's one. Go to the next line and choose Open URL. Turn it off. This is the URL for the Lego site. So again, it's got what Lego wants and then the set ID in there from the database we've created. And then I'm going to do one more Open URL. And this one is for the Brickset site. So we want to connect this script that we've just created, the Get Lego Information script. I'm going to close this and save it. We want to connect it to a button. So if we go into layout mode, we can use the button tool here to create a new button. And that button, in this case, I'm just going to make it a button with an icon and no name. And we'll use one of these pre-built icons that come in FileMaker, the information icon. And we can make that icon a little bit larger. And we're going to have it perform a script. And this is the script that we created earlier, Get Lego Information. So now when you click on this button, it will just run the script to get all the information. And that script, again, is pulling information that we've already entered in here. It's either pulling the name that we've entered, or it's pulling the set number that we've entered. So I click on that button, and it goes up and it opens 3 web pages. Oh, you know what? I have it actually, it was looking at the set ID, so it didn't find that it was using this number 2 instead of this number 60060. So let's fix that. I'm going to go into the script and here where it's not that one. We don't want the set ID, we want the set number. Now if we do it, we'll actually get the information about that particular set. So it did find the auto transporter set under Brickset. It lists all the parts, if there's any minifigures that come with it, and it goes to the Lego site and it finds the building instructions. So if you needed to download those, you could grab the instructions as a PDF file. You could actually store that in your database if you wanted to, but you can always go get it from out there. And it also searched for that set on Amazon, and you could go and purchase it or find out what the price is. So it's currently $64.95. I can enter that information into the cost today. And it probably was originally $29.95 or something. Lego sets are intentionally out for just a short period of time, and so they go up in value as soon as they are not available anymore. And then you could enter the date purchased on here. To make this a little bit nicer as well, you could click on the date purchased and make that a drop-down calendar. So we kind of went from some simple things to which like just creating the main layout, and to some more complex things, which is really, I mean, there's some integration here with the web and doing URLs and that sort of thing. The next step would be to add additional, we could create a related table that has all the parts in the database, but there we go. So I think I'll go over that just so that you can see. FileMaker is a relational database. It used to be a flat file database a long time ago. But to add the set parts, I think it would be very tedious for us to go and type in every single item that's in a set. But somebody has done that for us. So if you go out on the internet, you can find people who are sticklers for detail, and I found this John Cratton had a site where he was talking about a Lego set database that he wanted to create, and he was able to get from a company or a site called Rebrickable a file of all of the parts that were up to that date for every single set. So I downloaded that, and what that was, a bunch of CSV files that looked like this. They were essentially Excel files in a format that has the color of the item, it has the part number, has the quantity, and the part ID. So that's nice, but we want to connect this set 60060. We want to know what all the parts are and connect it to that set. So in FileMaker, we can choose to import records, and I'm going to import a file, and that file that we're going to use is from one of those CSV files, comma separated values. So I'm choosing that file. I choose open, and FileMaker wants you to map this to fields that are already in the database, which there's no really good place to put this yet because we haven't created a parts table. But we can choose to create a new table, and it will just name it the name of the actual file you're importing. And then it creates these temporary fields, F1, F2, F3, F4. So choose import. And as fast as that, it imported 115 records. And you can step through them and see that they all came into the database. But we want to make this a little bit nicer and have it be named what it should be. So go to Manage Database, and we see in our list of tables now we have sets, and we have this new one that came in. We're going to rename that as parts. Click on Change. So now we have a parts table with F1, F2, F3. But we want to rename that as well. So I remember that, because I wrote this down, F1 was the color. Change. F2 was the part. and F3 was the quantity, and F4 the part ID. We're going to add one more thing to this table, and it's going to allow us to relate the set to the part, because we don't know this particular part what set it belongs to. So I'm going to add a set ID in here. And in database terms, that's called a foreign key, because it's in, this set ID is really part of the parts table, but it's from a different table. So we can build a relationship pretty easily by matching the set ID of the sets to the set ID on parts. In FileMaker, in the relationship graph here, we can create a relationship just by dragging over. And you can see it kind of looks like there's a crow feet here, so one set can have many parts. That's what it's showing for you. So another way we could view this is FileMaker has a table view, and that's very similar to Excel. So if you just click on the table view, you can more clearly see what's going on. But I want to also show on here that additional field that we added, which is the set ID. So I just drag that over, and now the set ID doesn't have anything in it. So we have the set. Let's go back to, choose from the layout view. You can go back to where we were. And again, the set ID on this one happens to be number 2. So I want to display the parts on this detail view. So let's go and do that. I went into layout mode. I'm going to get rid of this because we don't need it. I'm going to make this notes field a little bit smaller. I'm going to pull down what's called a portal in FileMaker. And the portal lets you look from one table into another table. So, oops. Sorry, that's the portal to I'm going to drag that out. And it asks me, I want to show related records from where? Well, I'm going to show them from the parts table. And I want to show alternate row states that will give me bars to separate the items as we see them. And I'm going to allow vertical scrolling so that we can see like hundreds of rows without on this. So I click on OK. And then we decide which items we want to see in there. So I choose color and part and quantity and the part ID. So those 4 things will show up in this portal. They kind of step me through that, let me show that automatically. So if I go back into browse mode, I see now this portal created a portal. So I can see what the parts are, but I'm not seeing any of them. And the reason why is because there aren't any related parts right now. If I go back to the parts table, remember the set ID here is 2. And they're related by the set ID. If the set ID matches, then they're related. So I'm going to just manually change the set ID to 2 here for that one part, and then go back here, and you can see, well, that's not a very good example because that first record actually had the names of the parts in it. I'm going to delete that record and just do this next record, and you can see one of the parts is related. I go back to the parts table and I change the set ID for all these items, all 114 of them, to 2. Now we have all the parts for this particular Lego set listed. So, well, I think that that's kind of gives you a good overview of some of the capabilities of using the layout mode and even going more advanced into integration and that kind of thing. Then you can scale this solution with FileMaker. This is a single user solution that we're just using on our desktop. We could turn on peer-to-peer networking for FileMaker, and then that allows another person on our workstation to connect to that, or you could connect an iPad to it. Or we could take that same solution and put it on a server, and then up to 500 people could access it. And then if we wanted to take it the next step, have thousands of people access some of that information, we can set up a Brilliant Sync WordPress website that grabs that FileMaker information and gives access to many more people. So in future enhancements in this tool, you could possibly make it so you could scan the barcode on a Lego box, or you could add that you have wish list items, which ones you actually own or want, and we could add security to it so you could have multiple users that would be able to log in and make changes, that kind of thing. But so wrap it up, you really kind of just learned what FileMaker is and where it fits, and then hopefully went a little bit fast, but you were able to create your own custom app that can run on nearly any platform. And if you weren't able to create it all, you can certainly download or use the completed solution there and modify that to make it do whatever you want to do. So have fun, and I hope you enjoyed that. If we have any questions? Probably that, yeah. I realized that I was going pretty fast. Yes. Yes. I realized that I probably have like 5 hours of information here. So I did go through it pretty quick. Yes. No, it actually, the first person who opens it becomes the server, essentially. So we were having a little bit of problems this morning, but with the Bonjour working on our network. But essentially, when you go in, I can show you. I mean, in theory, if it wasn't a network issue here potentially, like if I open up this Lego collection, this is the finalized one. I go to File, Sharing, and say Share with FileMaker Clients. And I just turn it on. I'm going to share it with all users, so I don't have any security on this. And then when I click on OK, you should be able to go in your menu and choose Open Remote and see that actual file out there shared. I don't know, I mean, it's kind of a crapshoot here if it's going to work, but you have to be on the guest network. Are you seeing it out there at all, or no? We were able to for sure get it working on like an isolated network. I did it off my phone. If you want to try that out, it's pretty cool, because then you get the record locking, and multiple people can be editing it editing things or adding new records in the database. So to get a lot of information about, like, if I wanted to just create a new record in this database, I think if I knew the set ID, I would just enter it from my instructions or whatever. So like 75163 is a set ID. If I paste that in there, oh, it's not look. I have to go and look for that information. So it found the building instructions here online. It found, and it actually searched on Amazon as well for. And if I grab that Amazon ASIN number, which is this one here. I can paste that in there, and then you'll get the photo, and I can copy that photo over. I have to actually copy it and paste it. So it could be fun to, if you really want to keep track of all your items. Any other questions? Go forth and make databases. Thanks.